Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video here on Marvel Strike Force. Hope you're all having a great Wednesday. I was like, what day is it today? So in today's video, because of how things have been last week, things have been really busy over here. Of course, if you've been following what's going on with me, I want to do a recap of basically the upcoming adjustments to the big apocalypse unlock. I want to go over this with the with my baby account and kind of show you guys where I'm at, what characters I'm using, and also we're going to touch on Dark Dimension 6 as well. So I want to do the best bang for your buck here when we're talking about Dark Dimension 6 characters and which of the Apocalypse characters are best to be used in there and how we can kind of like maximize how many characters we're upgrading here. So we're going to be going over the changes. We're going to be talking about all the characters that I'll be taking up and how close I am to do that. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Okay, so we're going to start here in the Horseman screen. Basically, what's changed with the Apocalypse unlock. Some people found the blog a little bit confusing, so I'm not actually going to pull it up here in today's video. But I'll tell you that basically you still need all 4 of the Horseman characters, and you need 3 MSF originals. However, one of those originals who wasn't out for Apocalypse at the time is Vol, and we'll talk about that as well. But instead, the requirements, instead of the teams, Darkhold, Deathseed, Unlimited X-Men, and Gamma, it's now been heavily reduced to Mystic, Mutant, and Bio, which makes this a lot easier because there's a lot of more relevant recent teams, but you still need to take them to the gear tier 17 for Big Apocalypse, Blue 5 on all of these characters, but the total amount of characters that you actually need to upgrade is a lot less, especially when you're double dipping. So the same characters that you're going to be using for Archangel is the same character that you're going to be using for Rogue, and then you're going to have a lot of the MSF originals actually qualify under Mystic as well. We'll talk about that as well. And also Spider Society is going to be a big one here for Red Hulk. So let's get started. As you can see on my screen here, they are almost all Blue 5. I'm kind of just like farming the crystals. I actually still need to do that. So make sure that you're kind of paying attention to what blue ISO crystals you need to farm. Also your Blue 5 ISO count. Now, I want to let people know that as you go through the sagas, as well as the actual nodes towards Apocalypse, you're going to be slowly getting more Blue 4 and 5 ions back. There's a slight refund. There's no gear refund, but there is ion refunds. So the total that you'll need is not those characters times Blue 5 ions. It's a little bit less than that. I forget how many characters worth of Blue 4 and 5 ions, but it's fairly significant. So do keep that in mind. But I'm slowly working my way through them anyways, because you're eventually going to need to upgrade them. And if you come out with a surplus, well, those are ions you can use for characters that are coming out now. So I do want to go through each of these. We're going to start off with the mutants because that honestly makes the most sense. And at this point in time, I think it's pretty obvious because I already mentioned it. And these are the best characters that you can upgrade, which is going to be your extreme X-Men, right? Like, let's be real. Like they're so good pretty much everywhere. Not only are they the current raid team, but they're just so good in so many game modes, PvP game modes, Sword Satellite, like anything where you can use them at all. They're amazing. Trials, blah, 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 blah. So the best 4 characters, in my opinion, are going to be Nightcrawler, Gambit, Forge, because you need a support character and you want a support character. And I would say Old Man Logan, which you can use if you have him unlocked. If you do not have him unlocked, then just use Sunspot. But regardless, I still have them all Blue 5 anyways because I wasn't sure who I was going to take. Yeah, I may have over upgraded, but I use them every day in raids anyway, so it doesn't matter. Old Man Logan, obviously super overpowered. And one thing I do want to say here, I probably should have said it earlier on, Envoys have not tested the changes as far as how the nodes themselves play out without using the intended teams. That being said, with Mutants, with Extreme X-Men and Old Man Logan, I have no doubts you're going to blow it through it. Where things might be a slight concern could be like Mystic, where not all the characters are new as such, and so it's not exactly power creep on that side of things, and so maybe it plays out differently. That part I can't really vouch for because we never got to test that. But this is your best bang for your buck right here because you're going to get all sorts of usage of these characters. Super easy. And outside of these characters, you need Archangel and Rogue leveled up, but it's going to be a walk in the park. Honestly, they're so good. People who are using them, I think it's still one of the top teams that you should be building at this point in time. And they're my heaviest built team. Extreme X-Men, Old Man Logan. They were the first characters that I GA teamed. had no problems doing that. And they're also ones that I'm leaning heavily on in Dark Dimension 6 when we get there as well. Shouldn't be too hard to talk about. Now, I do want to do bio because while we're here, so Red Hulk and the bio team, I think the best top four is because you need Red Hulk, of course, is going to be Hero Spider Verse. Now, in this case, the majority of them are Spider Society. So Ghost Spider, Peter B. Parker, and Pavitra. Now, Penny is tech, is skill and tech, so does not qualify under this. But Void Knight qualifies under this, and so does Gwenom. So you have a choice of 5. However, I think a lot more people are opting to level up Void Knight for Dark Dimension Cosmic, and so this makes a little bit more sense. The rest of my Hive Mind I actually haven't taken up on my alt account as much. I basically took them as high as I needed to for the raids, and that's it. I haven't really put too much more investment in them at this time anyways, but I did do with Void Knight because of DD Cosmic, like I mentioned. So because they're all 4 of them are Hero Spider-Verse, Peter has a lot of callouts too, and I think a lot of this the Spider Society do as well, where they say, Hero Spider-Verse, in the passive Hero Spider-Verse. So all this is going to apply to characters like Void Knight, or, if you end up doing it, would be Gwenom. So these are my 4 top picks for Blue 5 Ions, G17. They're already G17 actually, so I just really need to start equipping the ISOs in some of them. Still currently farming away a little bit on that. So that's currently what I'm doing for Red Hulk, and bio should be no problem. I honestly would not go full Hive Mind. I would do this Hero Spider-Verse. If you don't, for whatever reason, if you don't have Spider Society unlocked at this point in time, I guess you could do Hive Mind, but realistically, I would do the newest characters because they're going to have the best long-term value. Now, Mystic is where things are going to get a little bit interesting, but also easy at the same time. So this is going to be the Darkhold replacement of for Morgan Le Fay. So my Morgan Le Fay is up here, G17, level 90, blue 5, good to go. There's a little bit of an option, right? It depends on where you're going with your roster. I'll tell you what I'm doing, though. I'm doing Vol, I'm doing Spider-Man Noir, I'm doing the Eternals, and those are the 4 that I'm going to use. Now, you're probably wondering, well, there's actually a lot more that you can cross over, and that's because I already have my Eternals leveled. So not everyone is going to have that, and that's where the options, obviously, to also include Spider-Weaver and Deathpool, because they're MSF original characters, which means that you're going to be able to double dip. So you can double dip your MSF originals with your Mystics. And that should be fine. Now, again, like I said earlier on, will they clear the nodes? I hope so. I mean, are they better than Darkhold? Vol's a newer character. Spider-Man Noir has been reworked, but the other ones were around when this happened, more or less. So I don't know on that front. And that's probably where I'm most concerned, is like them clearing the node. But if any of your characters are G18, which is actually higher than the Apocalypse requirement, I would assume that they'd be able to carry. If you have a Vol G18 and you're using Vol to do the Darkhold levels, I would assume that the power creep would be good enough to clear that. Just my assumptions there. So if you're not doing Eternals, I would recommend Spider-Weaver and a Deathpool. I am a little bit concerned, though, and you're probably wondering, yes, there's still Kestrel out there. Kestrel's not a Mystic, though. I don't think, because if you look at my roster, like, I've not even really bothered to level characters like Ghost Rider Robbie. I just don't have the time and the resources in my roster to do that. And with the exception of Black Cat, which we'll talk about in Dark Dimension, like, I've just not touched any of the Secret Defenders, really. You could do Doctor Doom with the expectation that you'll be leveling him up to for Dark Dimension 7 down the line in the future. But there could be some moving parts, especially with this current patch upcoming. We don't know if there's going to be any mythic characters. Maybe it might happen just because it's a crazy amount of characters, like really important characters that I don't know what they're going to do yet. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so again, I don't have any information on that. And if you look at the rest of my roster, I just haven't really touched on that. So this is what I think is going to be the best usage in terms of what you're going to be doing. Spider-Man Noir, obviously, as part of Spider Society. Ball, Dark Dimension Cosmic, a lot of people still using MSF Original, the best MSF Original, and probably going to help carry that kind of stuff. And so that leaves really the last set of characters, which we've already touched on, but you only need 3 of them. And so I guess that depends on what your plan is for Mystic, right? So for me, it's going to be Vol, Kestrel. I might actually take Deathpool up, even though my Spider-Weaver is sitting at 18. I just think that I might get a little bit more value out of Deathpool because of the Mercs for Money rework. I hope Spider-Weaver maybe gets moved into a future team at some point, but I'm kind of on the fence here. I don't have 2099 leveled on my team, so Spider-Weaver loses a lot of value in other game modes by not having 2099 there. So I think that I will be going with Deathpool in this instance. But the choice is really up to you. If you want to add Spider Weaver in, that's one less Mystic that you have to worry about. But I am also at this point I already have Kestrel at G18. Plan on doing Kestrel for DD7 if I make it there on my alt account, and so that's not a big problem there. That is one extra character though that I'm using for, or one different character that I'm not using for Mystic section. Obviously Kestrel's an extra character there, but I will be leaving Spider Weaver out. There is a little bit of flexibility there on the Mystic side of things. A lot of that really depends on if you're still leveling the Eternals or not, and if you're still using them, and if you're not, you could maybe go with a couple other characters. Or you could go with Cosmic Ghost Rider. You could go with these 3 MSF originals who are Mystic and add one and Cosmic Ghost Rider in, something like that, right? Like Dormammu if you want, whatever. There is some flexibility, and I'll leave that up to you guys. I think that you guys are smart enough to make that decision. A lot of it will just hinge on whether or not you're using Eternals. And now this is where we're going to get to the Dark Dimension 6 part of what I've been doing. And just to let people know where I'm at, I'm actually just working my way through Dark Dimension 6 Global, Cosmic. I'm almost done. And then I have all my characters ready for Dark Dimension 6 City. What I haven't quite finished yet is Legendary, because I've kind of backpedaled a little bit on to make sure that I have Big Apocalypse when the new changes roll out, which is going to be very, very soon, just around the corner. But I want to touch on the characters that I have at G18 currently in these sections. So for Global, Extreme X-Men Black Knight. Actually, I have a little bit extra, but you can't use Old Man Logan because it's legendary. So basically, I have the 4, not Cyclops. I have the 4 Extreme X-Men and Black Knight. That's my section for Global. So that's not a problem there. For Cosmic, I don't like this, right? Like, I really don't like Cosmic because I think that the characters, especially for like newer accounts, it just doesn't look super great. So we have Kestrel, who is usable in Dark Dimension 6. That's safe because you're going to take Kestrel into Dark Dimension 7 typically, so that's okay too. Then you have Vol, and I think that's safe as well because, MSF originals, that kind of thing for Apocalypse. I have the Eternals and Void Knight, so those are my 5 there. Some other considerations: Cosmic Ghost Rider, because he's for Out of Time. You're going to use him for the next pass, hopefully, of Old Man Logan, assuming the game survives that long. You could also use Kang standalone, but I did not this time around. Because he wasn't at 7, and I don't know. I decided to go with the Wombo combo of the Eternals instead, but that's also an option there. And then once the second pack, or like once I clear it, I'm just gonna shoot Super Scroll up there because I think DD6 Cosmic is honestly one of the biggest pains in the ass. But none of the other characters really even touch the radar on my alt account because they're just not worth leveling, and a lot of them are super goddamn old. Now we have some upcoming new characters, of course, if you saw my recent videos. So characters like Odin, Gladiator, new Thanos Endgame, Gore the God Butcher, right? And so there's a lot of potential cosmic characters that'll be coming your way. They're not here yet, though. So, I think that's going to be for people for like Dark Dimension 7, right? These are plausible Dark Dimension 7 choices. But if you're still kind of waiting on the gates of Dark Dimension 6 Cosmic, kind of this, really, at this point in time. I don't really recommend Mr. Fantastic unless you're going to be getting Captain Britain, and there's just not a lot of great choices. Cosmic Ghost Rider is farmable, however. I just haven't really had the time to level him up yet, but I actually do have him at G19 on my main account. So he's a good character, and he's a newer character, so as far as stat growths go and power creep and all that, he's pretty good. So if you're thinking about breaking up the Eternals and not taking them, that's something that I would consider in there. It would be Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then obviously Kang can fill those gaps. So these 2 could fill the gaps of the Eternals if you decide not to take them. Now moving on to City, though, that's pretty obvious, right? Like, I don't even talk about that, but we'll it's Spider Society. As many Spider Society as you can fill in here. They are replacing Hive Mind. So previously, people would have talked about characters like Sinister Six and Hive Mind, but I wouldn't really do Hive Mind to G18. Hive Mind's in this state for me where I just build them as high as I need to for the raids, and that's about it. They're not bad characters, but Spider Society are just that much better. They're insane. They're insane everywhere. Like, I don't need to explain this, hopefully. Spider Society are great. That's it. And before that, it was Sinister Six. People were leveling up characters like Vulture, even a Ghost Rider Robbie, not Sinister Six, but people were using Ghost Rider Robbie for Dark Dimension. For newer accounts, I just don't think that this is a viable direction. I don't think you should be doing this personally, but that's just my thoughts. He's not a bad character. It's just it's been a long time still, and I think it's outside. It's not outside the meta, but it's just less important than characters like Spider Society who are in the meta right now. And then finally, that leads to Legendary. Now, obviously, there's 2 sections in Dark Dimension 6, the Legendary and non-Horseman Legendary, that kind of thing. and then where you can use Apocalypse at the end and so forth. But we're just going to touch on legendaries that are non-horsemen, the characters that I'm going to be taking up, and I keep having to be reminded where I'm just blanking here. So first off, obviously, if you have Old Man Logan, no brainer. He's like the best character in the game, hands down. Even at like 4 yellow, 1 red, or no reds, honestly, he's insane. So you want to take him if you have him. Now, the next thing up would be Doc Ock and Green Goblin Classic. Still need to raise them up a little bit more, but I'm being a bit resource stretched. I'm being training mods stretched, actually. That's the problem. But those are the other 2 that I plan to take to that section as well. And then obviously a Black Cat is also going to be going up there because they're non-horsemen. And that leaves 1 more slot. So you can't do any of the horsemen that are kind of what you're doing for Apocalypse, right? And there's a couple of options. I haven't unlocked Nova because I hate the trial. I hate the restrictions. The Masters of Evil plus Quicksilver plus X Factor, blah, 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 blah. I only have like Kang leveled, and I can't seem to get through the trials with just soloing with Kang because you need 5 characters to start the mission. So I need other characters to survive in order to actually get through the nodes to the additional ones, right? And so I really hate that. And so I haven't unlocked Nova yet. And so there's a couple of options here if you're in the same boat that I am. Otherwise, you could do Nova if you haven't, right? That's fine. Omega Red is an option, although that's something that I did for Dark Dimension 6, but it's not something that I'm doing for Dark Dimension 7. And then there's also the option of Black Bolt. Now, yes, I know how people are feeling about the Illuminati. For me, I will be taking Black Bolt. He's going to be my 5th character choice. I'm going to have to raise him up from the ground. You're going to need, even free to play, you're going to need some sort of 5 Illuminati for the next legendary event, even if you don't have Captain Britain. Yes, I hate this goddamn team. But, I think he's probably easier. Iron Man costs more to upgrade than Black Bolt does, so that's a thing too. Depends on if you have more bio minis or tech minis. But also in the future, if we do get Captain Britain available to us, Iron Man is the one that's going to be kicked over. So Black Bolt may have the best longevity in that team, and he's just a means to an end at this point for us to get a Super Skrull, I think. It's not something that I'll be doing for Dark Dimension 7, because I will be using other characters for that. This is not a DD7 video. Just for the purposes of getting Skrull unlocked and clearing Dark Dimension 6, I think at this point in time, Black Bolt is going to be my unfortunate 5th choice. And it doesn't even matter because Old Man Logan is going to carry that anyways, hands down. He carries like Dark Dimension 7 from what I hear. He's absolutely going to carry Dark Dimension 6, especially alongside Dog Ock and Green. This rework was not even a thing when Super Skrull came out. So all of that is just going to carry the torch. It'll be fine. So those are my recommendations, both for Dark Dimension 6 and for Apocalypse. Keep that in mind that when you're doing Baby Apocalypse, that's G16, blue 4 ISO, and then Big Apocalypse is G17, blue 5 ISO for the characters recommended in this video. I hope that it was helpful for you, everyone, and let's see how the week unfolds. There's a lot of things going on. Crazy news on Monday. I just need a little bit of a break, but I wanted to get this video because I haven't touched on my alt account, who is level 96.5, still pushing with that double XP for this entire week, which is great. So that's the end of this video, everyone, and until next time, stay safe and healthy. I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.